Hello friends, myself Prashant Kohli, assistant professor in chemistry, MEP Sambhaj Nashik. Friends, today we are going to discuss one of the important topic of inorganic chemistry related to the bonding of complexes or compounds. So there are various theories have been proposed by various scientists to explain the bonding of complexes like Werner theory, Sidgwick electronic theory, etc. So the valence bond theory is also one of the topic that correlates with the bonding of complexes. So we will discuss today about valence bond theory, which is also abbreviated as VBT. Basically, this topic is included for UG chemistry student as well as for X12 chemistry students in state board syllabus as well as for the CBSE pattern. So what we are going to discuss today in this video based on the valence bond theory, that is introductory part of VBT, assumptions or postulates of VBT, shapes and relative strength of the bonds, concept of hybridization for tetrahedral, octahedral and square planar complexes. Simultaneously, we will also deal with inner and outer orbital complexes, then electroneutrality principle, multiple bonding in complexes and limitations of valence bond theory. So let us start the topic valence bond theory. So first part we will discuss about the introduction of valence bond theory. Previously Werner theory and Sidgwick electronic theory was quite successful to explain bonding in coordination complexes as well as the stability of coordination complexes. But if we see that these theories have some limitations related to the bonding of complexes, basically the theories were not successful to explain the magnetic properties of the complexes, inner and outer orbital complexes, why the complexes gain excessive negative charge, and what to discuss about the negative charge, that is due to the lone pair of electron donation. Then also these theories were failed to recognize the strong and weak ligands in the complexes. The VBT theory was proposed by Linus Pauling, and Pauling take the advantage to give the broad discussion related to the coordination complexes. So basically he proposed the valence bond theory for coordination complexes. So what are the assumptions of valence bond theory? This can be also called as the postulates or merits of valence bond theory. So we will discuss one by one. So in the first part of assumption, during the complex formation, the central metal atom provides a fixed number of orbitals, that is empty orbitals, and usually the empty orbitals provided by the central metal atom equals to the coordination number of the complex. So we know that what is the coordination number of the complex. If coordination number is 4, then the central metal atom will provide the empty orbitals, that is 4. So this is what the point. The second assumptions, according to this concept, metal will accept the lone pair of electrons donated by the ligands and keep these electrons into the empty orbitals that is provided by the metals, and thus there will be a formation of coordinate covalent bond between metal and ligand. In the third assumption of Pauling, he mentioned that there may be a formation of very strong bond between the metal and ligand if the overlapping between the ligand and metal orbital is constructive. For this purpose, that is for effective overlapping, the original orbitals of the metals go through the process of hybridization to develop new sets of atomic orbitals, and these new sets of atomic orbitals called as hybrid orbitals. In the fourth part, in the fourth assumptions, the hybrid sets of orbitals will have fixed directional properties and have nearly fixed energy and symmetry. So according to this concept, when orbitals undergo the process of hybridization, before the process of hybridization, the particular orbitals are of comparable energy, but when they gone through this process, the orbitals nearly have fixed energy and symmetry. Fifth assumptions, each ligand must have a lone pair of electrons that could be donated to the central metal atom during the complex formation to form a coordinate covalent bond between the metal and ligand. So we know that those molecules which have a lone pair of electrons that can be donated to the central metal atom, simply called as a ligand. The ligand molecules are simply electron rich molecules, and they have capacity to donate the lone pair of electrons to the central metal atom, and hence it is very compulsory for the ligand molecule to have the lone pair of electron, and this lone pair of electron must be donated to the central metal atom. The next postulate, the empty metal orbitals can overlap with the filled orbital of ligand, and there will be formation of coordinate covalent bond. So that is what the important point in the sixth assumption. The particular empty orbital of metal will overlap with the filled orbital of ligand, and simply there will be a formation of coordinate covalent bond. Metal electrons, most of the time there are some electrons of metal which does not take part in the hybridization process, that is a bonding process, and they tends to occupy the inner d electrons, and these occupied electrons called as non-bonding electrons of metal. So simply these electrons, that is non-bonding electrons, probably utilized for multiple bonding, that is a pi type of bonding formed by the metal and ligand. When the field d orbital of metal overlaps with the empty orbital of ligand. Now this is the point. Initially the empty orbital of metal overlaps with the field orbital of ligand, and that is what the bonding for coordinate covalent bond formation. But it is also possible that if the metal has non-bonding electrons, and these non-bonding electrons occupied by the field d orbital of metal, that could be overlapped with the empty orbital of ligand, and there is a formation of pi bond. This pi bond formation between the metal and ligand enhance the power of sigma bond, and this pi bond also affects the charge distribution of metal and ligand. So basically that is called as a multiple bonding between the metal and ligand. In the ninth assumptions, by knowing the number of unpaired electrons in the complex, it is very easy to conclude about the geometry and magnetic properties of the complexes. So basically on this topic we are going to discuss in very detail that depending upon the number of unpaired electron in the complexes, how one can able to find the magnetic properties of the complexes. So we will see in the next session of this topic. Then Depending upon the hybridization, the geometry of the molecule is resulted. Now we can see that the chart that is explaining the formation of various hybrid orbitals by the process of hybridization, and there is a geometrical shape resulted for the molecules. At the same time, depending upon the hybrid orbitals, what could be the relative strength of the bonds, that is also shown in this table, and there are some common examples. Most of the time we know that when the coordination number is 2, the possible geometry for the complexes, most of the complexes sp, and the geometry is linear. When the coordination number is 3, the hybrid orbitals having the hybridization sp2 with a geometrical shape trigonal planar. At the same time, when coordination number is 4, hybridization is sp3 resulted into the tetrahedral molecular geometry. For coordination number 4, again there is another geometry is also possible. If the hybridization is a dsp2, then there will be a formation of square planar complex. Now when the coordination number is 5, then dsp3 or sp3d hybridization is possible for the geometrical shape trigonal bipyramidal, abbreviated as tbp. At the same time also possible, the coordination number is 5 with the hybridization dsp3 or sp3d, the square pyramidal geometry can be resulted for the particular complex. Then the more common hybridization for most of the complexes having the coordination number 6 with a hybridization d2sp3 or sp3d2 resulted into the octahedral geometry. So that is very common for most of the complexes. The octahedral geometry is resulted when the coordination number is 6. Now this chart is very important. Depending upon this chart, we are going to discuss about the bonding in complexes. So for solving the problems based on the valence bond theory, every student must aware about the valence electron present towards the metal atoms. So we know that the d block elements are very common to form the coordination complexes, and the d block elements have 4 series, that is 3d, 4d and 5d, as well as the 6d series. But as per as our syllabus, and the most of the complex formation is from 3d, 4d and 5d series elements. So what one could be aware about this 3d, 4d and 5d series? So one must have the knowledge about the elements which are present in the 3d series, their atomic number, and at the same time one should be aware about the valence electron configuration of that particular metal. Now this topic will be very important for solving the examples based on the valence bond theory. So most of the time, what kind of the question is generated for the valence bond theory bonding? Explain the bonding for particular complex based on the valence bond theory. So at that time we must be able to calculate the oxidation state of central metal atom which is present in the complex, as well as we must be aware about the valence electronic configuration of that particular metal present in the complex. So dear student, please learn this chart very thoroughly, and you must be aware about the valence electronic configuration of all the metals present in the 3d, 4d and 5d series. So those valence electron configuration is for 3d series. The same configuration present in the particular group for that particular element will have the same electronic configuration. For example, if the metal is from 3d series and the particular metal, suppose that it is a manganese with electronic configuration 3d54s2, then technetium present in the 4d series will have the electronic configuration 4d5 5s2. At the same time, the element present in the 5d series, that is rhenium with atomic number 75, will have the electronic configuration 5d5 6s2. So only the d orbital number is changing, but the number of valence electron will remain same. So that's why this chart is very important. In the next session of the valence bond theory, we'll interact about the bonding in complexes for tetrahedral, octahedral and square planar complexes. To solving the examples, please learn that chart that we have discussed here. So this chart will be helpful to know the valence electron configuration of particular metal. Thank you very much for watching my video. In the next part, we'll cover the another topic related to the valence bond theory. Thank you very much.